And welcome to this explainer. So you probably think you have a pretty good handle on what our planet looks like, right? Well, get ready because we're about to completely shatter your baseline understanding of Earth's geography. Today, we're diving into facts so totally bizarre, you'll be questioning what you thought was even possible. We're talking hidden landmasses, crazy weather phenomena, the whole shebang. Let's jump right in.
Let's kick things off with a totally bizarre mystery deep in the Peruvian Amazon. If I asked you, hey, can a river literally cook you alive? You'd probably say, no way, that sounds like an absolute myth. But as we dig into the data, you're going to see that Earth holds extremes that make science fiction look completely tame.
All right, let's head straight into part 1, Earth's bizarre geological oddities.
200 degrees Fahrenheit. That is near boiling, folks. The Tempesca River in Peru flows at these insane temperatures for nearly 4 miles right through the dense jungle. Anything that falls in, instantly cooked alive. And the absolute craziest part? There isn't a volcano for over 400 meters. It sounds totally made up, and honestly, scientists thought it was a myth until a brave geologist risked his own life to map it out. He proved that deep, underground geothermal springs are actually fueling this deadly boiling river.
Now, how about a literal lost continent hiding in plain sight? Enter Zealandia. This absolute behemoth of a landmass is twice the size of India, but get this, 94% of it is completely submerged under the Pacific Ocean. Only tiny bits like New Zealand and New Caledonia actually peak above the waves. It turns out this entire continent broke off from Australia around 85 million years ago and just slowly sank. It was so well hidden that scientists didn't officially recognize it as a continent until 2017. Wild, right?
Moving from the ocean depths to a super fun, dry little geographic quirk in the U.S., the Four Corners Monument. It's the one and only intersection where Arizona, Colorado, New Mexico, and Utah all meet. They surveyed this spot way back in 1868 with 19th century gear, and modern GPS proves they actually nailed it. It's literally the only spot in America where you can have your hands and feet in 4 different states at the exact same time. Or, technically break the law in 4 states simultaneously.
Okay, let's shift gears to Section 2, mind-bending scale and size.
Prepare your brain for a real geographical Russian nesting doll. Over in the Philippines, there's a tiny speck of land called Vulcan Point. Vulcan Point sits inside Crater Lake. Crater Lake is located on Taal Volcano Island. That island sits right in the middle of Taal Lake, which is itself located on the massive Luzon Island. So just to recap that madness, you've got an island within a lake, on an island, within a lake, on an island. It totally defies logic, but it just goes to show what thousands of years of volcanic eruptions can create.
And speaking of mind-bending scale, let's talk about just how unbelievably massive Russia is. Think about this comparison. Russia covers roughly 17 million square kilometers. The entire surface area of the dwarf planet Pluto? Just 16.6 million square kilometers. You could literally take the entire surface of Pluto, unroll it flat, drop it right onto Russia, and you would still have room to spare. Spanning 11 time zones from Europe to Asia, you could fit the entire United States inside it almost twice over.
Geography also really warps how we group together as humans, creating some fascinating population paradoxes. Take California. Just that single U.S. state holds roughly 39 million people. Now, look just to the north at the entire country of Canada, which holds about 40 million people. You've got almost the exact same number of human beings, but one group is intensely squeezed into a single state boundary, while the other is spread out across the second largest country on Earth.
And that population point gets even more staggering when you look at the global divide. Nearly 90%, let that sink in, 90% of Earth's 8 billion people live north of the equator. That's around 6.57 billion people all packed into the northern hemisphere. And the reason? Geography just completely dictates survival. The North simply has vastly larger land masses and way more temperate climates, while huge swaths of the southern hemisphere, like Antarctica, are practically uninhabitable.
Before we wrap up the scale section, we gotta talk about depth. 12,262 meters, to be exact. That is the Kola Super Deep Borehole in Russia. We're always looking up at towering mountains, but this was a plunge straight down into Earth's crust that goes deeper than Mount Everest is tall. Scientists actually had to stop drilling because the temperatures down there hit a scorching 180 degrees Celsius. But before they stopped, they found ancient plankton and discovered that at that insane depth, solid rock actually behaves like plastic.
All right, moving on to Section 3, Extreme Weather and Climates.
Imagine a thunderstorm that practically never, ever ends. Welcome to Lake Maracaibo in Venezuela,
where they experience 260 days of intense lightning storms every single year. It's all caused by trade winds slamming into the Andes Mountains, creating the absolute perfect recipe for an electrical frenzy. We're talking up to 28 lightning flashes per minute. It's basically an endless natural fireworks show. In fact, it's so incredibly bright and reliable that sailors have literally used the lightning to navigate for centuries. So, from extreme electricity to bone-chilling extreme cold, let's talk about Oymyakon, Siberia. This is the coldest permanently inhabited place on the entire planet, regularly plummeting to -76 degrees Fahrenheit in the winter. Surviving here takes some serious daily adaptation. The cold is so absolute, so unforgiving, that residents have to leave their car engines running constantly. Because if they turn them off, the engines freeze completely solid. I mean, even a bottle of vodka freezes out here.
But, climate extremes aren't just about where you are on the map. They also shift drastically over time. Just think about the history of the Sahara Desert. Just 10,000 years ago, which is honestly a blink of an eye in geological time, the Sahara was this lush, green landscape, completely filled with lakes, rivers, and thriving wildlife. But a really slight shift in Earth's orbit completely altered the climate, turning a green paradise into the massive, sweeping desert we see today.
And finally, Part 4, Nature's Greatest Optical Illusions. Get ready for a geographical phenomenon that is going to completely break your brain. Up at the Magnetic Hill in New Brunswick, Canada, the landscape plays massive tricks on your eyes. Because of how the surrounding land is shaped, a very real downhill slope looks exactly like an uphill climb. It's so convincing that if you throw your car into neutral, it actually looks like your vehicle is rolling backwards uphill, totally defying gravity.
Heading off the coast of Mauritius, there's a visual trick so spectacular, you really have to be flying above it to appreciate it. From the air, it looks like the ocean itself is plunging down into a massive, terrifying abyss, like a giant underwater waterfall. But geography is just messing with us again. What's actually happening is sand and silt deposits are flowing off a really steep ocean shelf drop-off, driven by deep underwater currents. Then we have Bolivia's Lar de Uyuni, and it is rightfully known as the world's largest mirror. During the dry season, it's just this vast, endless expanse of hexagonal salt crust. But when the rainy season hits, a super thin layer of water covers the perfectly flat landscape, and it reflects the sky so flawlessly that the horizon just completely vanishes. The reflection is so crisp and so mathematically flat that satellites up in space actually use it to calibrate their own optical systems.
Defying gravity one last time, let's take a trip to the Faroe Islands. During intense storms, the coastal winds here get so furiously powerful that they literally reverse the direction of falling water. They blast the ocean water right back up into the sky, taking what should be a normal downward waterfall and turning it into a rising, chaotic column of mist. It's a completely unforgettable upside-down waterfall.
Well, we have covered some absolutely incredible ground in this explainer today. From boiling rivers in the Amazon that can cook you alive, to lost continents the size of India hiding underwater, to upside-down waterfalls defying physics, Earth remains just profoundly undiscovered and deeply mysterious. So think about all the wild data we walked through today. Which of these geographic extremes completely shattered your perspective of our planet? Keep asking questions, keep exploring, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.